Hi everybody, my name is Ava and this is Spiritual Musings, and I am actually sick today as you may see by my face so I don't look too hot, but despite my voice possibly going out in the middle of this video, I decided to start this video now because I just feel called to start telling this story. So this is the story that actually started it all, the inspiration for this whole channel, and it is the story of how I remembered my past life as a siren. And this is a long video because I think I'm gonna break it down into parts just because it's a really long story. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna give you some background first. As a girl, when I was younger, I watched Ariel, the Little Mermaid, once, and I absolutely hated it. Never watched it again. It was one of the Disney movies that I just could not watch. Another interesting fact is that I was always very afraid of the ocean. As a very young child, not so much, but after maybe I hit pre-puberty, I really didn't like the ocean. Up until recently, I couldn't spend too much time by the beach or by the ocean in general because the sound of the waves would just drive me crazy. I was always very afraid of it. It always felt very dark and threatening. Another interesting fact was that I could never swim very well, but if I was in the water, I would always be diving. So I would go to a swimming pool, for example, and I was just under the water, which I think is the case for a lot of kids. But there was just something really capturing about it for me, something very almost addictive. I remember having to be pulled out of the pool after 8 hours of just being underwater, basically. I never, ever had any sort of obsession with or interest in sirens or mermaids, ever, as a kid, never. It's not my jam. In fact, I just actually didn't really like it very much. So these are just a couple of things. Also funny and interesting, I never touched seafood, ever. Even as a kid. Still don't eat any fish or anything that comes out of the sea, really, at all. Okay, backstory. So this whole thing started with an intuitive urge to color my hair pink. But I was very hesitant because I know you have to bleach it, and I wanted it I imagined it to be this sort of light pink color. And I knew I would have to bleach my hair, ruin my hair, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, spoiler alert. So the urge to color my hair pink came up many years ago, and I pushed it away. And then it came back, and I pushed it away. And then just about 6 months ago, it just became really strong. And I had just cut my hair because it was really long, and I had cut it. And I was like, oh, maybe a good opportunity. But I just wasn't comfortable. And then I went grocery shopping, and I was there was an aisle with toys, and there was a sticker book. I bought a sticker book for my son, and then there was another one with mermaids in it. And I was working with the inner child then, and a lot again, many times. And I thought to myself, I'm just gonna buy this for my inner child because she's gonna love it. And so I bought the mermaid sticker book, and then I only opened my favorite page, and I picked out all the mermaids from the 50 different stickers that they had that I liked the best.
and they all had like pink hair or purple pastel kind of colored hair. Very girly, right? Very feminine. And by the way, I grew up that kind of girl that only wore black. So this was, to me, I thought this was like reclaiming femininity, diving into that pink, into that softness. And I bought that sticker book and I did that one page. I picked all my favorite mermaids and I stuck them there, and then I just put it to the side and that was it. But that voice that said buy this, even though I thought it was silly, I bought it, I did it, and then that book was kind of what like pushed me to give me the bravery, I guess, to do it. So I bleached my hair. I did it all myself. Bleached my hair, colored it pink, loved it. I think in some of my other videos you can see my hair super pink. And so that was step number 1, pink hair. So after I had colored my hair pink, I came across a Oracle and Tarot reading on YouTube. And it was about what kind of lives have you lived? And the reading started off with, well, you are clearly a Syrian soul. I was like, okay, check, resonates. And you've lived in Lemuria, check. These were just a few things that made me realize like this is the reading for me, because you do have to use your discernment when you watch these readings. And then she started talking about my life as a mermaid. And this was a complete shock to me. This was never on my radar, ever. And I watched this reading, and she was talking about how, you know, there's like a hypnotizing magnetic nature that mermaids have, that is still playing out in this life. And I was like, yeah, check. And the ability to work with grief, and the connection to whales and dolphins. And now, despite really actually actively disliking being by the ocean, one of my first really profound spiritual experiences, and these are all the puzzle pieces that are like coming together. One of my really first profound spiritual experiences was listening to humpback whale sounds. And I did that for like 3 hours, and I was completely high off it. Like, I was like, just sitting there listening to the sound, and it like took me somewhere. I don't know. It was like a deep meditation, and it did something like on a cellular level to me. So I connected those dots. I was like, this is very interesting. And then there was talk about trauma in that life, like something had happened. And I just started to get really, really curious. And then for about a whole week, I didn't really look at my phone. I would put my son down for a nap, lay down next to him, and just lay there. No thoughts, really. It was very, very interesting. It was the first time that I felt that way, where there was just kind of quiet, like a just inner quiet. And it asked me to pause. That's what it felt like. And in the evenings, I would put him to bed at 9. I would just lie down with him and just be in bed, my eyes open or closed, and just sit there, like lie there, and not do anything. And I know now in hindsight, because I've started doing it again in for different purposes and situations, but it's like an intuitive call to do that, to put the phone down, or put the book down, or put the crafts down, or whatever. It was me getting into receptive mode. So I just laid there. And then there was a moment that came
And it was suddenly, it was like, I think it took so long because it was so long ago, so many lifetimes ago. There was like a zoop, and I received an image. I received an image of myself in the water fighting somebody. And it was it was like a life or death kind of fight. And it was just very brief. It was like one quick slide of a movie. And I can feel my voice going out already, so we'll see how far I can get. And I realized, oh, that was me. That was me in the water fighting somebody. And so that stuck. And simultaneously to that, I kept getting this urge. I'm in the south of Spain when this is all going on, and if you have never been, the snorkeling and the diving there is just like amazing. We were at Cabo de Gata, which is a national park, and it's like famous for its beautiful snorkeling. And I kept getting, like, every time I would go to a place where they would have them, which is everywhere, I heard that voice like, buy snorkeling goggles. Buy them. And I just never did. I was like, it's too cold. I'm not going to go in the water anyways. I don't like to go. And I just completely ignored that voice. And so Spirit was like, my God, girl, come on. And so there was a little girl. I'm a small person, so I have a small head. And there was like a girl who had one of these snorkeling masks that has a snorkel built in. And I looked at her at the beach, and I was thinking to myself, she's gonna forget those. And yeah, she did. I didn't see it, because otherwise I probably would have run after her. Definitely would have run after her and given them to her. But I didn't see it. But then they were gone, and they were just lying there, like, served on a platter. And I was like, okay, Spirit, thank you. So just know that if something's meant to be, Spirit will find a way. So I had the goggles. Excuse me. And I am working, or trying to work into this quick 2-second cut of a movie, of a vision of that past life that I got fighting underwater. And so I am deciding to do a past life regression. Didn't work. It's too far away. It really was too far away. And then I came across a tarot reading as serendipity, the beautiful synchronicities, where somebody talked about the power of the ocean and the remembrance that the ocean holds. So I was like, okay, let's try it. So one evening, and I gotta say, we drove to this particular spot, intuitively, again, not really knowing why. But we're parked right at the beach. I walk to the beach. I sit down, and I just, basically I connected with the sea, and I was like, hey, I've heard that you hold all memories, so I'm trying to remember something. Can you help me? And I sit and I wait, and I sit and I wait, and then I just feel myself through here flying into the sea. And I was just going straight in. So I know that the spot that we were at was exactly the spot where I needed to be. And I fly straight in, not very far at all. And I get to a place. Now this is all third eye stuff, right? This is all happening in meditation. And it's like I'm being welcomed in, and I walk in underwater. It's like a place, and it's like a movie theater. And I sit down, and they start playing the movie. And they didn't show me anything really, except the thing that was relevant, which was that scene of me fighting somebody. And
I did not recognize the type of creature that I was fighting, but it looked very lizardy underwater. It had a tail, a mermaid tail, but the upper body part was very lizardy. And another synchronicity, just a few days after this whole experience, I saw a post about somebody breaking down the different types of draconians that are there. And if you've seen The Shape of Water, anyway, there it was. I was like, oh my god, this is literally what I saw in my meditation. So, quick side note. And this fight went on, and basically I died. I was stabbed right here with a trident, and I was dead. Now, the dying was not the traumatic part. I mean, it was traumatic, and then another synchronicity. There's a scene in The Little Mermaid, I think in the beginning, where still haven't seen it, just like once, swimming away from sharks or something, I don't remember. But when I saw that play out of my past life, I was reminded immediately of that scene in the Little Mermaid movie. And I realized why I could never watch that movie as a kid, because it scared me so badly. Like, it terrified me, because the way that she's like hiding and quickly swimming away from the sharks or whatever, it looked so similar to that battle that I was in. So there's that connection. And so I got stabbed, and the thing that was really the impactful thing is, now I don't know this is just what I perceived. I feel that in Siren society, when you die, there is an important ritual that happens with your body. There's like the burial process or whatever is really significant. And what happened was that I was murdered, and I saw my body like sinking down into the darkness and disappearing. And I have full body chills when I talk about this right now. And that was the traumatic thing. That was the thing for my soul that was the really rough part, because I couldn't get the ceremonial goodbye that was necessary. And then I just had such sadness come up. Like, I started crying, came out of my meditation, and I realized, okay, so this is what happened, this is the important part. And then it just was like so much sadness and feeling into my body. All of the sadness came out from the Bintu, the back head chakra, which often carries a lot of sadness. And I started like pulling it out and just like crying it out and letting it go. And it really brought a lot of relief. And then I felt a strong urge to wipe my tears and put my hands into the sea. So I gave my tears back to the sea for what happened to me in the sea. And that was really a turning point. Now, a few weeks later, I came across the Selkie again. If you don't know, the Selkie, I think, is from northern, like, I think it might be Irish, I'm not sure. Might be Scottish. I apologize if I got it wrong. But it's somewhere in that region. The Selkie is a seal that can take off its skin to become a person. And before I had gone on this journey, I received this message that I have guides waiting for me where I'm going. And then after this meditation happened, a few days after, I felt really called to look at the Selkie again. And then I read this thing in folklore. It says that if a woman cries 7 tears into the ocean, a Selkie will appear. And I shit you not, I gave my tears to the ocean, And then I started getting a strong sense that there was a new spiritual guide around me. That was a male Selkie energy. And that in itself is cool, but what is absolutely wild is that after that meditation, after releasing that trauma and that that profound sadness and also that fear, my fear of the ocean completely disappeared. Literally the next day, I'm walking and I'm sitting down on the beach and I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? I look out onto the sea, and instead of getting that uneasy, I want to get away from here feeling that I used to get my whole life, I looked at it and it just felt like a living room. Like, it felt like that feeling you get when you walk into a cozy living room and there's a nice couch there and you just want to sit down and lounge in it and cuddle up in it. That's what the sea felt like to me, and I was like, holy shit, what happened? And the following weeks, we would, like, park right by the sea. I would fall asleep to the waves. Like, before, I couldn't handle the sound, and it just kind of rocked me to sleep. And I was like, this is amazing. And this just showed me, wow, some, like, real work was done. Some real blockages were released. Amazing. So this is, like, real life proof of the change that has taken place energetically, right? So my fear of the ocean was gone. I had a new Selkie guide, and I'm gonna take a quick break and then we'll continue. Okay, so I have those goggles that I found, right? And I still haven't been in the water. And this whole story is about why you need to listen to your intuition, why you need to do the thing that your gut tells you, no matter how weird it is, because it will lead you somewhere where you gotta go, right? So we are back at another beach, and the voice is just like, go now. And I'm like, but it's cold. It was so cold. It was so cold. But I did it anyways. I dove into the water. I put the goggles on. And I snorkeled around for like 10 minutes. I came out, my ears hurt so bad. But it activated something. And then we were traveling in an RV. And had never gotten a hotel. And I was like, I think we need to get a hotel tonight. Long story short, I slept there alone because my kid wanted to sleep in the car. So I slept alone in the hotel. And that night, I had one of the most clear, amazing, profound astral experiences of my life. Now, I've been in the astral quite a bit. I am confident in saying that I can distinguish between the astral and a dream. And this was the wildest trip ever. So, because I'm sleeping alone, there was no interference in my energy field, right? So, I guess it's just what it took, what it needed to get there. So, I wake up at like 3 because this hotel was right next to a zoo, and there were just birds screaming so loud. So I woke up at 3, which is just golden time, and then fell back asleep, and then off I went. And by the way, if you are listening to the story and you are that person that I'm about to talk about, please write me. I would love to get to know you because I think there was somebody else with me who had the same experience, who went through the same initiation as I did. So this is still a dream. So I'm dreaming I'm in school, early high school maybe, like freshman year or something. And we're going on a field trip. And there's a boy sitting next to me on the bus. And we're going somewhere, and we come back. And we come back to the school building, and the school building was right on a dock by the ocean. And we get out of the bus, and we're like, what is this? Do you feel different too? I'm like, yeah, I feel differently. I don't know what this is. And we realized that we could jump really high and fly really high, and, you know, like, So we hopped like fences and played around. All the other kids were going to the classroom, and we were just like playing around outside, kind of like leaping into the air and just not flying, but like super long jumps. You know this from dreams. And then we walked back into the class, and we all sat down, and from my seat in the classroom I could look over the ocean. And I'm looking out, and I see a green flag come out of the ocean. Not waving, but just like popping out. And I look at him and I say, we gotta go. That's for us. So we run outside of the classroom, and we head dive from the dock into the sea. And that's when I snapped into the astral, right? So there's always like there's a door or a bridge or whatever. And so that was it. And I realized, bam, I'm in the astral. So we're walking underwater, and I see mermaids, sirens. I actually have like resistance to the word mermaid. It feels like a very colonized term. So I'm gonna say sirens from now on. And I see a group of male sirens like coming towards us, almost like military looking. And I get scared, and I like try and hide, but they basically like walk right up to us, and they're like, hi, please come with us. And we're like, okay. Okay. So we follow them, and we get to another door. I don't know why there's so many doors underwater, but there's a building and a door, and we walk in, and suddenly it's all dry, and we enter into like a hall, and there's like little people there. And if I have to describe them, I would say something like Pacific Island-ish looking, but really short. Like short. I'm a really short person, and they were shorter than me. And they just have the biggest grins on their face, and it's an older woman and two men with her, and these were like the main characters. There were other ones, but they were like the big ones, the big three. And she's like, come follow me. And like the warmth and the lovingness and the energy that came off of her and these other two men was like just amazing. And so, hi boo boo. It's my dog. Hi. You want to say hi? Come. Okay, you can just lie down there. Okay. And so we follow her, and we go into a type of kitchen, and they're cooking something. I don't remember now. I think it was on a stove or something. And they're pulling it out, and it's just this tiny little green thing, like a little glibbery, like an algae almost, kind of like an algae. And they give one to me and one to the guy I'm with. Oh, and by the way, sorry. As soon as we entered through the door, we became adults. And they give us these things, and they're like, eat it. And he's like, okay. And he just shoves it down. And I'm like, and I have hesitation, right? And she looks at me, she's like, you have to eat it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat it. So I took it, and I ate it. And then we walk outside. We're like outside on a patio in the ocean, in this astral world. And we all sit down, and I sit here. The guy I'm with sits to my left, and the woman is across from me, and the two other guys are sitting to either side of her. And then they just like sit and wait, and they look at us with like such happiness and pleasure and anticipation, I guess. And I'm like, so what's going on? What's going on now? But it was also pleasant that it was just like, whatever. Okay, we'll just sit here and smile at each other. And then it was like, okay, we're waiting for something. And then suddenly I think I had like I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but there was like a shift, and I noticed it, and I was like, what is this? And I look at the guy to the old woman's right. He was like kind of older. And I look at him and I'm like, and I go, what's going on? Or I think I said something like, what is this? And he goes, but I didn't say anything. I only thought it, right? And I'm like, the fuck? He just responded to my thought. And then I looked at the other guy and I was like, testing. And I said to him, I really like your smile. And he said, oh, thank you. And I realized in that moment, okay, the screen thing that I just ate, I literally just received telepathic communication abilities through this in the astral. And then I'm like looking at the man I'm with, and he just, nothing is happening for him. Like, he's not getting it. So I look at the woman and I say, maybe it takes longer for him because he's bigger than me. And she's like, maybe. And still nothing happening, right? And then so we leave, we go, and we walk through a really long tunnel. And we get out of the tunnel, and I don't know if that was exiting the astral. I couldn't tell. I don't think so, but this is not really relevant. So we get out of the tunnel and we're like in a city, and we get into the car and he gets behind the wheel and I sit next to him and I'm like looking at him. I'm like waiting for it to sink in, to click, for him to get that activation going. And I hear him think, I really like her. He's thinking about me, right? He says, I really like her. And I look over and I say, I like you too. And then he looks at me and he's like, huh? And that was the moment it clicked for him. And then I woke up. So that was my astral experiences. And this is all tying in to the mermaid energies. Because telepathic communication is absolutely 100% a huge part of siren life, right? A much talking underwater, right? So that was that. I woke up, I recorded the whole thing, and then it just got kind of quiet. And I was thinking for a few days, and I was thinking, okay, I have a feeling that I have just downloaded the software of telepathic communication, but I am waiting for something to happen to my hardware, my physical body, so that I can actually run it. Okay, quick break. Okay, so this was a few months ago, and literally it all started with an urge to color my hair, guys. Like, sometimes it's like little things, And one other thing I want to say. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, when I was like still super deep in the process of healing, I basically started channeling light language really early on. It was the initiation into my healing, and it was kind of the thing, right? It's like the thing I'm really good at. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I received a melody, but it felt really different than all the other melodies. And I would sing it to I have a twin flame, but it's not a romantic relationship. I sang it to him, and I told him, I was like, back then I thought, because it had such a different flavor than anything else I had ever channeled, I told him, I think this is our soul song. I think this is like our soul melody blueprint, so to say. And that song stuck with me deeply. And every once in a while I would use it. Rarely in healings, for others, but on myself. And one second. And long story short, I realized that that song is my siren song. And it was the first real memory that came back so clearly. And when I put two and two together and I realized, oh my God, this is my... Because then I started doing some research. I started reading up on the different types of sirens there were and what type I could potentially have been, what resonated with me. I basically found out that I am a pearl keeper. If this interests you, look it up. Pearl keepers are really here to help people with grief. And a siren song activates hidden desires. So this is why the story goes, when a siren sings, it hypnotizes the sailor. And it could make them go crazy, but it's like if they're unhealed. You know, there wasn't really much healing going on back then, but that's why, you know, when something gets activated and you don't really know how to handle these energies, you can become psychotic. And this is how it all plays in, right? So I had actually received my siren song long before I went on this whole remembrance journey. And yeah, I wanted to throw that in there. So basically, after having that astral experience and after receiving this download of telepathic communication, I kind of just faded out a little bit. You know, there was a Selkie spirit guide that was there and very present. But there wasn't much else going on. And then came this really strong desire to do a really heavy detox. I'm not one of those detox regimen people. I'm not. I did a parasite cleanse, which was wonderful. I really recommend it, but it's not like I'm doing this. This is not my religion, you know, like some people I think take it a little far. But then came this really strong desire to do, like, eat fruit for a few days, which is hard for me. And really clean out, do some heavy metal detoxing, do all these things to make that light body to make the physical body even lighter, to integrate a higher light body. And so this is what I feel I'm still kind of in the process of. I get a sense also with the sickness right now, sometimes when there's things that are really stuck or that you are just really not consciously able to reach, you get sick, so your body takes care of it kind of without your mental work. And I feel I'm kind of coming towards the end of this upgrading the hardware so I can run that telepathic software. And my son is very telepathic. Like, he can absolutely read minds. He sometimes answers a question that I'm only thinking. And I'm also wondering how much his existence has kicked this whole thing off. So many synchronicities, so many complex puzzle pieces that I kind of all weaving in together. But yeah, this is for now the end of the story. I don't quite know yet where it will go. I'm also thinking I need other people who have gone through this initiation to recognize and realize this gift, to practice it. And so that's why I'm putting it out here too. And I think that's it for now. If there is more news, which I think is coming, there will be an update. I really, really hope you enjoyed this amazing story. It completely blew my mind. It was one of the most synchronistic, divinely guided, godly orchestrated spiritual experiences I have ever had.
I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. If you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate you. And like this video, share it if you like, and subscribe if you want to hear more amazing stories. Alright, bye.